Hi everyone, and welcome to Comics from the Multiverse, the DC Comics podcast from the Mailfuzz Podcast Network. I'm Peter Bradley, and joining me, as always, is Matt Sculthorpe.
Hey, what's up?
Not joining me, you might notice a certain lack of ginger in this week's show, especially if you're on the video version. You're not being blinded by that ginger rage that comes off that hair. Connor is at Star Wars Celebration this weekend, so he has to miss this week's show, which he was swearing a lot about because he doesn't get to talk about Nightwing and Solicits and a couple of other things that we're going to be talking about.
Yeah.
He did leave me some notes, so I will be connecting to the Ginger Speed Force.
The most dangerous of all the speed forces.
Yeah. He sent me his Ginger Lantern ring, and that'll be talking to me throughout, giving me some of his thoughts as we go through the books. But yeah, this is a DC Comics show, and of course we're going to review all this week's DC books that are part of the Rebirth line. So this week we've got Nightwing Rebirth Issue 1, Hal Jordan and the Green Lantern Corps Rebirth Issue 1, New Superman Issue 1, Wonder Woman Issue 2, The Flash Issue 2, Action Comics 959, and Detective Comics 936. So that's all coming up a little bit later. And of course, I always put in timestamps for the book reviews if you want to skip around and all that jazz. But we actually do have a lot of news this week, because not only did we get our usual pre-solicits announcements of new books, we also got the solicits a week early because it seems that they leaked before they were meant to actually go out. A couple of the creators were missing from things, and Newsarama did say that there was a couple of books missing, so I don't know if that's new books that they know about that we don't yet. And we'll actually have some exciting things to add on next week, but for the most part they're there. The October solicits are out, so we're going to talk about that. But before we get to the actual solicits, let's talk about the new books they announced, and they're all minis. So that's first thing. They've not announced any ongoings for October as of yet, but we have 3 new miniseries. The first of which is called The Vigilante Southland. And this is written by Gary Phillips, arts by Elena Casagrande, and the Vigilante's like an old character that they've had. I think the old version popped up in JSA once or twice, but he's a very old-timey character. This is a completely new version of this. He's usually set in New York. This one's going to be set in Los Angeles, hence the Southland title. And this is the official description here. The Vigilante Southland is the story of Donnie Fairchild, a failed NBA player who is just making ends meet as a maintenance man, when his girlfriend stumbles on a conspiracy to steal water rights through a series of shady land development deals. This sounds like the plot of an 80s action movie, by the way. I want to point that out.
Also, water rights were a big deal on True Detective Season 2, right?
Yeah, you're right. Well, kind of, yeah. It was like development deals along the water line, yeah. And
man, I love that that's Chinatown's legacy, is anything that's about the water rights in LA. So that's a very LA story. So this sounds pretty awesome.
Yeah, it's very pulpy. So so she's mysteriously murdered for digging where she's not meant
Uh-oh.
to. Once Donnie starts getting too close to the cause of their death, his house is blown up and he is left for dead. Again, 80s action movie plot. This is right out of one of these. Determined to bring the killers to justice, Donnie undergoes training from an urban legend known as the East Sider to become a masked vigilante. Well, that's a 6-issue mini. I will say that there were some preview pages of art when this was announced, and the art looked really nice.
Yeah.
So, that's cool. That's something a little bit different, and it looks good. At least what we've seen of it so far. So, I'm down to try that. Which we would be anyway, because we're always going to try issue 1s on this show. But, no, I'm pumped to try it, is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So, that's Vigilante Southland. Next up, this one is a weirder one. Deadman, Dark Mansion of Forbidden Love, which I'm also down for. It's worth mentioning there were some preview pages of this, of the pencils, and it also looked very nice. Very gothic, as you'd imagine, with a name called Dark Mansion of Forbidden Love. This is a 3-issue mini, but it's 3 issues of 48 pages, released once every 2 months.
Oh.
Yeah, this is really... because I actually heard the price of this before I knew about the page count, because it's $5.99.
Yeah.
And then I heard 48 pages, I was like, okay, fair enough. And then I looked at the description again, and it said every other month. And I'm like, oh, wait a minute, okay. So this is different. So I'm
Look at
curious.
DC changing the way that comics are going.
Yeah,
Like,
I'm curious about this because obviously you go to DC as a writer, right? Unless you're if
hmm
it's their idea and they hire you, but this sounds like something that's more of a pitch than it is.
yeah,
You go to DC and you pitch them a book and you say, right, this. I mean, if you look at the page count, once you've got the 348 pages, you're looking at what 7, 8 regular issues of length. But
hmm
he said, no, 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 I don't want to do that. My story is better broken up into three. And this is how I want to release it. So props to them for letting him do it. If if it
sure.
was him and the artist that have made that choice, but I think it's interesting. I think it's interesting that that's how he wants to split up his story. But yeah, this is. Oh, I kept saying he. I do apologise. It's written by Sarah Vaughan. My apologies. I kept saying he. That's what I get for not looking at the creative team first. And art by Lan Medina. So the art looks very good. From the preview pages, so I'll just give you a rundown of the description here. The 3-issue series tells the story of a young woman named Bernice who has the ability to see ghosts. She's also caught in a love triangle with her boyfriend, her non-binary best friend, but her love-conflicted heart may be the least of her problems as the mansion they occupy is haunted by a very angry revenant. Thankfully, another ghost soon arrives to offer his help, and it's none other than Boston Brand, the Deadman. So,
So this is so old school Vertigo.
yeah, I'll like the
Like,
sound of this.
like, so I still haven't read the Grant Morrison Arkham Asylum, but that's not a big book either, right? Like, that's like 4 issues.
It wasn't even issues, I don't think. I think it was just a.
Was it just a graphic? Because I
Yeah.
remember, because when I see it at the shop, and I always contemplate buying it, it doesn't look like, a big story.
No, it's
Uh,
because even in the because typically what you'll see the 15th or 20th anniversary versions or whatever now.
yeah.
A lot of it's actually like extras at the back. The actual story is like maybe 80 pages, 60 pages, something like that.
Okay. Yeah.
Uh,
So when this gets put into a trade, it's gonna be, a pretty nice size.
yeah, like I said, it's about 7 or 8 regular issues in terms of pages. I haven't actually
Oh,
done the math, but it's somewhere in that
yeah.
region.
But no, that's pretty cool. So something to stand out.
Yeah, and I think it looks cool. I like the idea that it's a ghost story, and I do like Deadman. Like I'm not a huge fan, but whenever he's popped up, like was he in Brightest Day? I think he was in Brightest Day, and you know,
hmm
he popped up in some other stuff, and I liked him in those things. So, nah,
Yeah.
he's a different type of character because he's not really a superhero. Not that he's a bad guy. I just mean that he's not like he
Yeah.
isn't, it's not typical superhero plots. He deals with ghosts, so it's kind of cool.
Yeah. See, I've mainly read him in Justice League Dark, where he kind of is doing the superhero thing.
Hmm.
But like he's in Brightest Day, it was more about him coming back to life and trying to be a human again after being a ghost for so long. So
Yeah,
that was
that's
really
right. That's right.
interesting.
Yeah.
You know.
So that's Deadman, Dark Mansion, and Forbidden Love, also starting in October. Next up, we have Hawkman and Adam Strange, Out of Time. So this is a team-up book about Hawkman and Adam Strange.
hmm
This is 6 issues, more typical format. It's written by Mark Andreyko and art
hmm
by Aaron Lopresti. Did I nail Andreyko? Is that how you spell it?
Yep, it's
Pronounce that name?
Draco.
Fantastic. So, residing on Earth and out of the hero game, Adam Strange finds himself trying to live a normal life until he's literally pulled back into adventure again as a seemingly normal Zeta beam transmission returns him to the planet Ran, where he hopes to be reunited with his beloved Alana, but instead he finds once the great city of Ranagar in ruins with millions dead, and the once peaceful Alana is now calling for blood of Ran's oldest enemy, Thanagar, home of Hawkman. So, I'm not as interested in this one as much as the other two. I think the other two
Yeah.
sound cool. This one, I think if you really like Hawkman or Adam Strange, you're probably a lot more excited for this. I don't mind either of them, but
hmm
nothing about this one's screaming this coolness to me, whereas the other two feel really unique. But
Yeah, this is shades of like the whole Rand Thanagar war from back around Infinite Crisis.
yeah, just before Infinite Crisis, yeah.
And yeah, so I like that. And Lopresti has that style from that era. So it feels, as weird as to say, it feels like a throwback to like 10 years ago.
Mm.
So those type of comics. So, but no, that's cool. I don't, yeah, like you're saying, I don't know if I'm gonna rush out and grab this one, but I took a chance on that Poison Ivy mini that was out recently, and that was pretty good, and that had a kind of weird concept to it. So who knows?
Yeah.
But yeah, these two seem to go together pretty well.
There's
So,
actually a whole second paragraph of synopsis here. Do you want it?
Sure, go ahead.
Sensing something's amiss, Strange enlists the aid of Thanagarian policeman Cater Hall, aka Hawkman, who is also trying anything possible to avert war. Together the two try and uncover who's really behind the destruction of Ran, whilst at the same time preventing Ran and Thanagar from marching into interplanetary Armageddon. Also, I want to point out how hard a word interplanetary is for me to say in my accent, so I want props. But no, I mean, it sounds like it could be cool. But the other two speak out to me a little bit more. Also, I want to briefly put, I don't have the description up, so I can't go into it too much detail. Did we talk about the Midnight and Apollo book when it was announced?
I don't think so. I don't remember.
Because the reason why I'm doubting if we did or not is because when I was putting the news together for this, and I put these 3 minis in, I was like, oh, we need to talk about the Midnighter one too, thinking it was also this week. But when I checked the date, it was like 2 weeks ago, and I'm like, wait, did we talk about that? I can't remember.
Yeah, I don't remember talking about it.
Well, there's a
Where's Connor when you need him?
Yeah, there's a Midnighter and Apollo miniseries from Steve Orlando, who did the Midnighter ongoing during New 52. I don't have the synopsis up, but that's also a 6-issue mini starting in October. So
yeah,
I never read Midnighter, but I know Connor really liked it, so I'm sure he would be jumping for joy about the news. So that's that. So next up, let's talk about solicits for October. So what I do, and I did this last month as well with the September ones, I have neatly organised it into per week, and I'm just going to tell you what's going to come out in each week, and then we're going to go through some of the highlights of just things that stand out to us. I've got a few things written down that stood out to me in the solicits. So on the week of October 5th, you'll be getting 3 of those minis are coming out on the same goddamn day, which is weird, but
of course they are.
So that's Hawkman and Adam Strange Out of Time issue 1, Deadman, Dark Mansion of Forbidden Love issue 1, Midnighter and Apollo issue 1, Batman issue 8, Nightwing issue 6. Those are of course continuing the Night of the Monster Men crossover. And then, of course, you've got Aquaman issue 8, Cyborg issue 2, Green Arrow issue 8, Green Lanterns issue 8, Harley Quinn issue 5, Justice League issue 6, and Superman issue 8. Then on the 12th of October, you've got Detective Comics 942, which is finishing up the Night of the Monster Men crossover. You then have Action Comics 965, Batgirl and the Birds of Prey issue 3, Deathstroke issue 4, The Flash issue 8, Hal Jordan the Green Lantern Corps issue 6, New Superman issue 4, Suicide Squad issue 4, Supergirl issue 2, Superwoman issue 3, Wonder Woman issue 8, and if you are still reading it for some reason, Red Hood and the Outlaws issue 3. I said Outlaws there. Outlaws.
Outlaws.
I didn't mean that, but it works. I'll take it.
Yeah, I saw that and I was just like, it looks like they don't even have the team together by the 3rd issue.
Oh dear. I don't see us making it to the 3rd issue, Matt. I wouldn't stress yourself over it.
I don't see myself getting to the end of that 1st issue, but I'll try.
Well, it's coming up soon.
I know.
Then on the 19th of October, we've got All-Star Batman issue 3, Aquaman issue 9, Batman issue 9, Cyborg issue 3, Green Arrow issue 9, Green Lanterns issue 9, Harley Quinn issue 6, Justice League issue 7, Nightwing issue 7, Superman issue 9, Trinity issue 2, and issue 2 of Raven, which is the miniseries that starts in September. And then on the final week of October, the 26th, we have The Vigilante Southland issue 1, and we also have Wonder Woman 75th Anniversary Special issue 1, which is an anthology book celebrating Wonder Woman, of course. It's got stories by Rucka. It's also got Azarello coming back to do one. Albuquerque's listed in the names. I think there's still more to be confirmed, but obviously we're going to cover that because it's a special and it's a big deal. But that's that week. And then, of course, for the rest of that week, we have Action Comics 966, Batgirl issue 4, Batman Beyond issue 1, Blue Beetle issue 2, Deathstroke issue 5, Detective Comics 943, The Flash issue 9, Hal Jordan the Green Lantern Corps issue 7, Hellblazer issue 3, Suicide Squad issue 5, Teen Titans issue 1, Titans issue 4, and Wonder Woman issue 9. Oof, that was a lot to say that last week. Not to worry though, I'm sure we'll have dropped a few of those by then. But
Yeah.
right now, I'm saying them all because, well, I'm going to say them all anyway, just in case, listeners and viewers are still reading them and they care. But at least for now, we potentially could be reading all those. There's a few of them that I think we might not be, but yeah. So that's the weeks. I actually kind of wish they arranged the solicits by week. That's why I like doing that. I like setting it out and seeing what it actually will be week to week.
Yeah, I wish they would too, instead of alphabetical.
Yeah. So, standouts things to just mention then about from the solicits. First up, a few of the books are starting new arcs that month, which makes sense given where they all are numbered wise. It's kind of weird that we're getting solicits for issues 8 and 9s of things when we've only just started reading issue 2s. But that's nice. It's kind of the nice thing about these double shipping weeks is we get to look that far ahead in the story. But Batman's starting a new arc this month, and this was of note. This stood out to me because it involves Arkham Asylum. It involves Batman assembling a team of villains to break into Arkham Asylum, and it involves stealing something from Bane. So, Bane story, hype.
Yes.
I'm cool with that.
Yeah, me too.
Superman's getting a new arc, which involves Dinosaur Island.
I'm sold.
He takes John Kent on a field trip to Dinosaur Island.
Oh, and don't forget Crypto.
And Crypto, that's right. Crypto's popping back up.
I think we're getting a proper return of Crypto, because in the New 52, he was like a wolf-looking white dog. So...
Yeah, it looked like Crypto on the cover in the solicits, so cannot complain. Another one I wanted to point out was The Flash issue 9, which is the second issue... No, it's the first issue of that one, so I think it's the Flash issue 8. I think I've written that down wrong.
Gotcha.
But it's the Kid Flash of Two Worlds, and the front cover is that classic Flash cover where, you've got Barry on one side and Jay on the other side, and they're running towards a woman in the foreground with a wall in between them. This is the same kind of cover, but it's Barry who's looked down on the floor in the foreground, and it's actually old Wally and new Wally running on either side, coming towards him. And so that seems like it's going to be the first time that the two Wallies actually get to meet, as in this issue of The Flash, which is cool. I like that the Wallies are both still kind of involved in The Flash, even though obviously old Wally's off doing things in Titans and whatever else. I like that, and also it specifically says they will continue their case of what started in Rebirth issue 1, so it seems like an important one. So I wanted to point that out. Green Arrow's got a new arc as well. It seems to involve him and Black Canary going to the island, which I'm sure it'll be fine. Like I'm not not looking forward to it, but I have to admit when I read they're going back to the island, I'm like, seriously, can we just forget about this island now? Like, so many stories with this Green Arrow in the last few years have been about that goddamn island.
Yeah, they could just turn the donkey wheel at the bottom of the island and make it disappear, then I'd be real happy.
Yeah.
That's a Lost reference for those who don't know.
Yeah. Love Lost. Yeah. But, I'm sure it'll be fine. But it just, I was like, the island again, sure. Front cover's nice, though. Nice romantic cover of them above the island. Maybe it'll just be a romantic getaway. Maybe there'll be no superheroics. It'll just be Ollie and Dinah going at it like rabbits on the beach for 6 issues.
I highly doubt that, but here's to hoping.
That'll come with an X-rate in that issue. Alright, I'll point out the minis. I mentioned Deadman's going to be $5.99, but it's 48 pages for 3 issues. The other minis, I think Vigilante's $2.99 matching all the other DC books, but the other 2 are $3.99. So their whole $2.99 thing seems to apply to the DC Universe line, and minis and things are exempt possibly from that. Although I can't complain about Deadman being so big. There's a car apparently outside. Do you know what's funny? Obviously that must be an alarm, but it sounds like a horn just going off constantly.
Yeah. Oh man.
I'll put an edit here, guys. We'll cut ahead when this noise stops. I won't make you sit through it. I was hoping it'd be done quickly. Oh, there it is. Never mind. No edits needed.
There you go. For once, the sound's coming from your side and it's not coming from my dog. So
yeah, Jeez. Not much I can do about cars outside, I'm afraid, folks, but
Yeah.
jeez. Yeah, okay, so back to, where was I? Other standouts for me, just sort of glancing through it. Green Lanterns, I think it's the first issue of the month,
Yeah.
is going to be a Halloween issue where Jessica and Baz take Baz's nephew trick-or-treating, but they also happen to have a Guardian who's like hiding on Earth. This sounds like a hoot. This makes me excited to get post Red Lanterns stuff.
Yeah, it sounds like E.T.
It does,
Taking an
actually.
alien trick-or-treating.
And
So-
honestly, the Guardians are not that far removed from ET in terms of looks.
No.
Dip
So-
ET in blue paint and you're kind of mostly there.
Yeah, kind of. But no, yeah, definitely gets away from the Rainbow Guard and all that. And this is what I think DC's been missing the last 4 years, was stuff like Halloween issues. You know, take advantage of the month. So, yeah, definitely appreciated.
Yeah. And the last thing I wanted to point out is that Justice League 6 and 7, so the arc for Justice League must end at issue 5, presumably. And
Yeah.
6 and 7 aren't the start of the next arc, they're actually going to be a 2-part story. Which is actually kind of cool that you get a 2-part story in the same month. That you'll get, both parts of it that close together. And I made a point of not reading the issue 7 solicit because, spoilers, and I don't like reading solicits past the first issue of an arc or whatever, but issue 6 mentions that the focus of the issue, obviously something's going to go wrong because it's Justice League, but Jessica asks out Barry on a date. And we commented their flirting or their chemistry in the first Rebirth issue of Justice League.
Yep.
So, that should be fun because I like Jessica and they did have good chemistry.
Yeah.
Even though Barry needs to ultimately be with Iris, but I don't mind waiting a little while.
Yeah, well, that's the whole thing is we used to have Impulse, but that was proof of that. Back to the Future style, but that's not around anymore.
True.
So they can play a little fast and loose. I also noticed that no talk of Patty Spivot, as of yet in this early stuff for Flash. So who knows?
Well, I think that's fine. I mean, Flash has got such a big, long history of supporting cast that they don't have to bring all of them into the story, in the first couple of arcs. So
Yeah.
I think that's fine. But no, that's all I wanted to point out from the solicits. I don't know if you had anything else you wanted to throw in as well.
No, that was all about it. I mean, we touched
actually,
on Superman and Dinosaur Island. Well, that was my main takeaway.
Actually, I forgot to mention Action Comics. Action Comics starting a new arc, and it seems to start with Lois Lane, and that's pre-52, original Lois Lane that's married to Clark, going back to the Daily Planet. So I'm not sure how that'll work, but I suppose by this point, New 52 Lois Lane is away being Superwoman, so maybe she'll be like, oh, I'm her older sister, or something. I don't know.
Yeah, the more we know about Superwoman, the faster we learn about that, it'll, because you have the other Clark running around, and you have another Lois, and so far those are the two anomalies of Rebirth, so at least we know about.
Yeah, shenanigans.
Yeah.
Shenanigans will be happening, I'm sure. But no, that's the solicits for October. A lot of interesting stuff. Only last thing I would say is that still no Super Sons.
Yeah.
Where is it? I want Super Sons, DC. Give it to me.
Still no talk of JLA.
Yeah, at least with that one, literally all they showed of that at the WonderCon event was a logo. So
Right.
with that one, that feels like, alright, that'll come when they want the big event things to start. But with Super Sons, they showed us art. I'm like, surely you must have.
Well, see, they had the artist named, right? They just didn't have the writer.
I wonder if they just have to wait. Maybe it has to wait until, say, the second arc of Superman finishes or something before they can start it. That's the only thing I can think of, is that they have to get to a certain point in John's story before they can start messing with it. But no, alright, so one last thing before we get to books. I told you there was a lot of news this week. We actually also had the June charts come out with the estimated numbers of comic sales. Now, I might have went into a bit more analysis with this had we not had so much other news this week, but since we had all that, I will just quickly summarise this. In the top 20, 15 of them were DC books. So clearly, Rebirth is paying off for them. The other 5 were Marvel. Interesting to me is that the 5 that were Marvel were either Civil War 2 or Star Wars books.
Yeah, that's. And I know there's gonna be a boom because it's Rebirth is still new, So I'm not ready to start, waving my flag
Well,
proudly as a DC fan, but it is a really good sign that it took Star Wars in an event,
yeah,
as the other books.
it's also worth noting that even like after that top 20, like the next, like 2 of the next Marvel books are Darth Vader, so they're still Star Wars. And the highest Marvel book that's not Civil War or Star Wars is Deadpool. And I think, I don't know, it says something to me that like where's the heavy hitters? Like surely Spider-Man and X-Men and stuff should be like high, and it feels like those kind of things are dwindling, and I don't know. But we're not here to analyze Marvel. But I just thought that was interesting that's what Marvel had in the top 20. But things to note of DC. Obviously, the highest selling thing was Batman issue 1 for them, which outsold the Rebirth issue by a good 80,000 copies. So that's interesting. It's interesting that a few of them did go up on their second books. From Rebirth to issue 1. Action Comics to the second Action Comics issue went up by 50 issues. It was weird.
Well, it's good by me.
I mean, yeah, it's good, but it's a little bit strange. You would think they would be this similar. Detective's quite similar. They had a good hold, which is nice. The lowest DC book out of the Rebirth stuff was Aquaman Rebirth at number 35 with 68,000 plus copies. Although for Aquaman, I'm sure that's probably quite a solid.
That's really
take,
good.
Yeah. So that's pretty good, and no, so that's it. I don't want to go into listing things. I don't see much point in it. I will just say that Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman, Flash were the highest ones there. Obviously, also non-Rebirth wise, Dark Knight 3 Master Race and Dark Knight Returns The Last Crusade were also quite high. They were both in the top 10.
People stop supporting. And I get that's Azzarello more than it's, Miller, but come on.
I'm surprised it's that high as well. I don't really see anyone talking about it.
And that's my whole thing. I think people are just buying it to have it because you never know what's going to happen when Frank Miller's name's attached to something. So,
well, with all that out of the way, folks, and we're a good 20 minutes into this, and we're finally getting to books. Next week we should be back to almost no news, although we may get a few extra things from the final solicits once they're officially released. But no, so let's talk about books. Let's get into these things. So first up, Nightwing Rebirth issue 1 by Tim Seeley and Yanick Paquette. And that's a big deal because we're all Nightwing fans. I was really looking forward to this, so it was good.
I thought it was fantastic. So,
okay.
Beyond good. Yeah.
Well, no, it was great. I think I don't love it as much as you and Connor, but I think the reasons why I don't love it as much as you and Connor are actually pretty obvious. Because everything else I loved. I loved Dick and Damien together and talk, hanging out and talking about video games and whatever else. Dick's voice is perfect. I like the tease of the new villain, this new head of the. It's not Court of Owls anymore. What is it?
No, they're still the court. They're just they've evolved.
No, but they've got a new name. There's something of Owls.
Do they?
Yeah.
Oh man, I didn't even pick up on that. I'll have to.
Yeah, they mentioned like a new name. It's like the I don't know.
See, I just remember them saying they dropped the masks, and they were gonna be like open a little more, but still in the shadows. Well, no, it's kind of contradictory.
Well, they switched to black masks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
But no, they've got like a new. I don't think it's new to this issue. I think it was brought up during the Robin War stuff, but it's the something of Owls, but it's not Court anymore.
Yeah.
But no, the tease of the new villain for that was pretty cool.
Mhm.
Seems like a good menace, and I liked all that stuff. Also, the tease of Helena going off to be Huntress and background on the Birds of Prey. Cool little touch.
Yes.
Given that she's been around in Grayson. But I think the only thing holding it slightly back for me, and again, it's not much, but I like because the book's got me really excited for Nightwing proper, is just because I stopped reading Grayson at one point, so a lot of the book is kind of dedicated to wrapping up plot threads from Grayson.
Yeah.
So for me, those parts of it were like, okay, right, I get why they're here, but it's not, setting my world on fire.
Yeah, see, and I like that because it showed a continuity. Because I feel like it with Grayson, when Grayson first started, it was such a different jump from Nightwing, where he was at, because he had died in Final Crisis, and then because his secret identity had gotten leaked and whatnot.
I thought you mean Forever Evil there, Matt.
That's what I meant, Forever Evil. I'm sorry. And but yeah, so it was fine picking up those threads. It kind of cleaned up Grayson because the last couple issues, Seeley and King didn't do. They pass it off to some other writers. So it was nice to see them, at least Seeley put the end cap on it.
Yeah, probably because they were prepping all the first issues for this.
Yep, for Batman and Nightwing. I mean, they split up the team. And I was a little worried that it was, that there wasn't going to have the same voice and vibe that Grayson had because, one or the other. But no, Seeley didn't miss a beat. And Paquette's art was fantastic. Like,
all that stuff was great, and I don't necessarily think they should have. Like, I'm not criticizing it and saying they should have taken out these like tying up loose ends or whatever. It's just that it just wasn't going to mean as much to me. You know, so
if you weren't digging Grayson like me and Connor were, then I can't see that. Because you kind of just want to see him show up in the blues as Nightwing.
Yeah, for me, I'm just not into spy stuff all that much, so Grayson kind of lost track of me just along the way. It was. I think I said it was Convergence that I think I just dropped. Like, I just never went back after Convergence.
Yeah.
Gave it 2 months off.
But no, yeah, like you said, the Dick and Damien stuff in the arcade where he's playing Cheddar Viking, which that cracked me up because that is such. Like, I'm surprised that game doesn't exist from the arcade era with all the weird games that they had. And it just shows that, Seeley has that sense of humor that you kind of want in a Dick Grayson book.
Yeah, no, he's got to have a bit of wit to him because he is not Batman. That's what Dick is. Even when he was Batman, he would smile. He would,
Yeah, he was. That's how I remember when Winnick was writing. It was right after Bruce had died, and Two-Face had automatically put together this was a different Batman because he was smiling. He knows his old foe well. But yeah, you want that in a Nightwing book, and then it even starts with how Nightwing's name came from Superman, which is just showing that Grayson's the bridge of the DCU.
Yeah, I really like that because that's like one of the things that like I know just from whatever, and it's one of the little facts I like to drop on people who like the idea of Nightwing but don't really know their history as much. So I like that they threw that in there and like set that up for everyone. Because Dick Grayson and Wally West are the heart and soul of DC. So I like that they're both getting their dividends in that sense. And by the way, the new name for the Owls is the Parliament of Owls.
Yeah. Because I just skimmed right over that because to Parliament Court, it's like, okay, But no, it's cool. And the whole Lincoln March, I thought was just funny. That we really haven't seen him since the end of Snyder's Owl stuff. Unless he showed up in like Eternal, which I didn't read. But even then, it's been a while. And the Talons just take him out right then and there. It's almost like a kind of meta comment on Batman of old. Maybe, we're going to do away with Snyder stuff a little bit, and we're going to take some pieces and go forward.
I think it's just wiping the slate clean a little bit. And just getting rid of some of the keeping the Owls because they're a really cool idea, but not having specifics like, oh, you have to remember this character from this previous run. It's just there's this new bad guy, he's the leader of the Court of Owls now, or the Parliament of Owls now, and just go from there.
Well, and he's a Talon, so just taking him out with the eye doesn't necessarily take him out. You know, they just freeze them until they want to use them again, right?
They could do. They could do.
Yeah. So, but very smart. It was definitely one of the higher points of the week for
Um,
DC Comics.
yeah.
So,
For me, it's like, yeah, I had, like, it didn't hit with me because of some of the recapping, or not recapping,
mm,
but the tying up stuff. But
yeah.
everything else that I loved has me excited for the main series, so
Yep.
I can't complain. It's,
No.
it's Dick's getting some love. You
Yes,
always
he
gotta love some
is.
Dick. So that's Nightwing Rebirth issue 1, and that'll take us on to Hal Jordan and the Green Lantern Corps Rebirth issue 1, uh, by Robert Venditti and Ethan Van Sciver on the art.
hmm
This, I went into this with a fairly bad attitude. I was expecting to hate it and be like, think this was a chore to read, based purely on the fact that I tried the first two of Venditti's Green Lantern stuff back when he first took over after John's.
Oh, you only read two.
Yeah, I only read two. Yeah, I gave
Oh,
up
I
pretty
read
quickly.
that thing for like a year. Again, this goes back to me talking about how I read bad stuff for a while because I guess I hate myself. But oh yeah, you gave up after two.
Oh, actually, hold
Holy
on,
crap!
hold on. I'm moving on too quickly. I'm feeling Ginger Speed Force is
Uh
communicating. Yes, yes. It's upset that I didn't mention his Nightwing thoughts before we moved on.
oh.
Oh, yeah. Connor was just saying that he loved Nightwing and he liked that it wrapped up all the Grayson stuff. All the voices were great, and Dick and Damien together were especially good.
There
So he
you
had
go.
nothing new to add, really, is
No,
what we're saying. But
all the ground that we covered.
yeah, but yeah, back to Hal Jordan here.
But Hal Jordan, yeah. Um, I went on this negatively too because I'm not a fan of Venditti. I'm sure he's a nice guy. I don't have the what's the word I'm looking for? The venom for him like I do. He who must not be named.
Oh no,
Uh,
he's not. He's not like
I
him.
just
He's not like,
yeah,
oh, this is like terrible and every like. It's not like that. It's just
no.
really kind
I
of.
just don't like his takes on some of my favorite heroes. And coming off of John's run, I'm still really high on Green Lantern. And John's had got me to actually love Hal Jordan as a character. Um, and then Flash was another character that's one of my favorites. And Venditti took Flash and Green Lantern and to me made him unreadable because I felt like he was. It's kind of like when you hear a band do a cover of your favorite song and you're just kind of like, well, that's not wrong, but it's not right.
Yeah,
You know, like
yeah,
there's a different texture to it that's hard to explain.
yeah.
Um,
It made me drop both of those books as well. So
yeah.
we went into this with a really kind of, we were expecting this not to be good, and it's not as bad as I thought it was going to be.
No, but it also doesn't get me excited for the ongoing series.
That's fair.
Because,
It doesn't get me excited per se, but I am willing to read the issue 1, and I think because it's stripped back to just Hal and Sinestro, I think
yeah,
it
but
bit it
man, I'm
bit.
kind of tired of Hal and Sinestro.
Well, I get that, but that's always what this book's going to be. Like,
Yeah, I'm so in the last since I've been reading Green Lantern for 10 years. Whenever it got relaunched after Rebirth, right? Oh
just
four, oh
over,
five.
yeah, just over 10 years now.
Like I get the eternal struggle. You know, is there two sides of the same coin? You know, but at the same time, I when Sinestro got his own book, I thought that was real good because it would give them time apart. And like I don't get here, and I don't know if that's part of the mystery why Sinestro looks so aged
Uh, I would, yeah, I imagine that may have something to do with whatever was happening, just before.
in his own book. Yeah, and then this was just basically a recap of Venditti's run to now. You know, because he touches on all the different Lantern stuff.
Yeah, yeah, he goes through everything. He sort of establishes where everything in the Green Lantern world is right now. And
Yeah,
the main part is like Hal like forging his new ring, which is a good scene. Like I like that scene. Um,
yeah.
some nice moments in there. Um, yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. I do think this is the weakest Rebirth book. I've read so far.
Yes. Yeah.
But it also wasn't the chore to get through that I thought it was going to be. Because back when I read his like first 2 issues of Green Lantern, like I felt like each page, like I was like, oh my god, like is this not near the end yet? Whereas with this, I got through. It was easy enough to read. It breezed through it. Hal's voice seems to be right, which I don't think it necessarily was when he started writing Green Lantern.
Yeah. Like I understand like 70s Hal Jordan was like the man in the space cop and the hard traveling heroes, but this Hal that's been brought back since he was the Spectre is kind of like he's not the man, but he like you put him in the position of leadership and he reluctantly takes it. You know?
Yeah.
So and I like that Venditti's doing that with him. And when he got to the oath part, I kind of did get like a fist pump moment.
Yeah,
Because that was a cool scene.
yeah. The oath is always the oath, and the you have the ability to overcome great fear. Welcome to the Green Lantern Corps. Those moments are always fun in Green Lantern. They always have been.
Yeah.
Obviously, this must be set before Green Lanterns because Baz seems to be included in the Lantern Corps that's missing right now.
Yeah.
So obviously Hal showed up in Green Lantern's Rebirth as well.
Yeah. And basically, you know, tied them together and said, or handcuffed them and said, you guys can have a part when you learn to work together. So, you know, you seem to have that under control. But yeah, I mean, it wasn't quite a chore to get through, but I also, at the end point, I was like, well, you know, the best Green Lantern thing I've read in the last couple of years was I think it was Tom King's, the tie-in to Darkseid War, where he was the God of Light. So I was hoping for something more along that lines, and here we go. The yellow versus the green. Although they did tease the blue and Ganthet and Sade, and I forgot about them being the Guardians of the Blue. So
yeah,
you know.
I'm wanting to read issue 1. I'm because most of the issue 1s have been better than the Rebirth issues.
Yeah.
So I think it's worth checking out the issue 1. Admittedly, like, if it doesn't get much better, like, this is the sort of thing where when we get to, like, you know, 10, 12 books a week, where this is probably going to be the first ones on the old chopping block.
Yep.
But we'll see. It is worth mentioning the art is very good because it's Van Sciver, and he's always been very dependable.
I love his Hal Jordan. The way that he plays with the shadows and whatnot with the green, and it's just, he's fantastic. In fact, this wall right here has a Van Sciver Rebirth poster. So, you know, it's the one really non-Superman thing on that wall. So,
yeah. So that's Hal Jordan, the Green Lantern Corps Rebirth issue 1. That's a long-ass title to add the Rebirth
yes.
at the end. That'll take us on to the third new book this week. And
but wait, I just
Oh.
got a thing from the Ginger Force.
Quite right.
Yeah.
Jeez. Okay, I'm sensing it. Connor, what is he thinking here? He's saying, oh, it wasn't that bad. He's got that capitalized. Right.
Oh, man.
But it doesn't... And I think he's made a typo or his phone's autocorrect something. Like, or maybe he just can't spell. I mean, knowing Connor, that's probably a fair trip.
He is a music student, not an English, so...
Because this is what it says. I'm going to read it word for word. You can tell me what you think this says. Right, it wasn't that bad, but it doesn't far too much time reminding me of... But it doesn't far too much time reminding me of all the utter bollocks Venditti put Hal through in the last few years, and I didn't enjoy it because of that, even though Hal was quite decent in this individually. So,
maybe he was saying it didn't. I don't know. I'm not.
I think he was saying it spent too much time reminding of his run. So it sounds like he's on a similar wavelength to us, maybe the harshest of the three, though, from the way he's phrased that.
Yeah.
So that's where the Ginger one's coming in. So moving on to the third new book this week, that was New Superman issue 1 by Jean Yang and Viktor Bogdanovic, and yeah. So this, of course, was a complete fresh slate. This is a complete new thing, new property, new characters.
Yeah. So was this a Rebirth issue or just a number 1?
Just number 1.
Okay.
Because I mean,
that's yeah, I didn't know if we were getting a Rebirth for it or not. And the what am I looking for? On the cover, the Rebirth banner was real close, so it kind of looked like maybe it was. So that's why I
Nah,
had to
see,
ask.
I mean, it makes sense. I mean, what's it a rebirth of? Because it's a new thing, so. You know,
That's true.
so I get why this one doesn't have a rebirth issue. So this is a new thing. It follows this new character in Shanghai named Keenan Kong,
Yeah.
who is a bit of a dick. Likes to bully this.
Understatement. It calls the kid fat boy.
Calls the kid
Doesn't
fat
even call
boy.
him by his proper name.
Steals his lunch and
Yeah.
all that. And all this is technically in Mandarin. There's a nice little note, actually, a few pages
Yeah.
in, that tells us that if it's in blue, it's in English. So things like names that would still be said in English still show up like that, but
Hmm.
everything else is actually in Mandarin. So that's a cool little touch. It's nice to essentially be reading a foreign
Yeah.
setting, which is cool.
Yeah.
Um, so we set up that he is this dick who treats this kid really badly, and this villain from like China shows up, who shows
Yeah.
up to attack like kids of rich families or something to that
Yeah. That's
effect.
his MO.
Yeah, and he tries to attack the fat kid, and Kieran sort of inadvertently, by throwing a can at his head, like kind of saves
Yeah.
the day, and people see it and think he's a bit of a hero. By the way, did you notice the Back to the Future reference here?
I read it so quickly, no.
Right,
But what
so
was it?
so he throws the can, the villain goes away, and there's people up at the window watching. And his Lois Lane, because she's got the initials LL, I've not got her name yet, she's in the
Hmm.
next couple of pages. But
Yeah.
she's in the window at the nearby restaurant or whatever, and someone
Uh-huh.
else in the scene says, "Who is that kid?" And then she says, "I don't know, but I'm going to find out."
Okay.
If you don't remember that from Back to the Future, that says something
Yeah.
that Lorraine McFly says when someone else asks her
Yeah.
that question after the skateboarding scene. So that was a
Yeah.
nice little wink, wink, nudge, nudge
Yeah.
to Back to the Future, which is cool. So I appreciate that. So yeah, her name is Lainey Lan. So I like that his love interest is got the L initials.
Oh,
Nice touch.
okay, so she's a full reporter, right? So you gotta think
Mm.
she's in her 20s,
Yeah, and he's
and
like,
he's 16, 17-year-old kid, and he's constantly like, yeah, she's my type. And I just, like, Yang's voice for this kid, he is such a, like, I know, I've met people like this, so I appreciate that as a writer. I wasn't a big fan of Yang Superman. It had some fun moments. I feel though, like this book, he can make its own thing
yeah, it's
because he's not weighed down by Superman.
yeah, it doesn't have like it can be its completely own original thing. So I don't like. Whereas when I was reading Superman, I'm like, this doesn't really feel like Superman. Whereas this, I'm like,
Yeah.
this is its own thing. This is this character that he's created, and no, and what I love as well is when he's not only is he like she's my type, also he's a caption here, his narration. He basically lists a lot of things that he doesn't like about her.
Yeah,
While he's saying she's his type, he's like, oh, it's a shame about the glasses and the baseball cap, but
yeah. So again, he basically is a less a salty Biff Tannen, you know.
a little bit.
So like even trying to give compliments, he puts people down.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
as he's narrating to us, so and I like the whole dynamic with him and his dad, because keeping the blue collar stuff with Superman, his dad's a mechanic, and it's like you got to stop bullying that kid because his dad's the CEO of a plane company.
Yeah. Yeah, it's worth mentioning that the backstory here is that his mum died in a plane crash that was the company that this kid's dad's owned, and that's maybe why he targets him specifically.
Yeah,
So, no, it sets up his supporting cast, sets up his dad, sets up the love interest. If she even has a love interest, per se. I mean, I assume she will be.
yeah, but yeah, I mean, I think that it's funny that he he thought like she was gonna ask him on a date after hearing he was a hero, to save the kid. So
No, it's funny. It's got a nice charm to it, which I
Yeah.
really like. And of course, this secret government agency in China like finds him and is like, "He's the one," and comes and like nabs him, and he's like, "By the way, you ever seen this guy on the news? This Superman fella from America? You seen him?" Yeah, so we can make someone into him. We're not going to explain how we can do that yet. That may get brought up in later issues.
yeah,
But yeah, we're going to throw you into this chamber, and we're going to give you powers. You cool with that? And he's like, yeah, I'm cool with that.
Yeah, why not? This is zombie with everything.
Yeah, so yeah, that's basically the story of the issue. Of course, all in the cliffhanger. He goes through the chamber, he gets his powers, and that's when Chinese Batman and Wonder Woman come barreling in, and
Oh, I love it.
yeah, Chinese Wonder Woman. By the way, someone pointed this out to me on Twitter. She looks a little bit
Hmm.
like Chun-Li from Street Fighter
Yeah,
with a get up,
they
which
can't be a mistake if he's dropping Back to the Future,
yeah,
nuanced stuff. They can't. I just I love when you get versions of American heroes in other countries, but they're not like their version. So it's not like the Knight and Squire as Batman and Robin. It's full on Chinese Batman, like same type of costume, just different colors. It's like a knockoff version.
yeah, which
So
almost in and of itself is kind of a weird joke because China's known for being quite bad with knockoff
yeah,
versions of things and like lots of piracy and stuff like that. Uh,
yeah,
Also, I do wonder at what point like Batman, Superman, and Wonder Woman start getting their lawyers on the phone about copyright infringement.
yeah, right. Especially,
uh,
well, it looks like they're not going as hard with the Superman S
yeah, because he's got
uh,
like a different shape, so they can't really
cannons.
complain. But Batman and
Yeah,
Wonder Woman have pretty
full on.
blatantly got the logos.
In
So
wrestling, that's called gimmick infringement, and that'll get you kicked out the locker room.
yeah. Yeah, so
Uh,
Batman's like got a full on blue vibes, Wonder Woman's green, and obviously New Superman here is
that's
red. So they've got the RGB thing going, which is cool. Uh, but no, I like this.
yeah, it was fun. I had some issues with the art just because it's not my thing. Like it wasn't bad, but it's very cartoony
I quite like the
in
art.
parts.
I think
Uh,
I think it gives it its own unique feel, and I think it suits the his like dickish like comedy kind of thing that he's got going.
yeah, yeah. It was
So
just for me. Some of the facial expressions, like on his dad, looked weird, and you know. But yeah, it's nothing. It's nothing worth like. Oh, I'm not going to read this again because the art.
I also seen
I
someone
gotta give.
else on Twitter pointed out to me that before he becomes New Superman, Keenan's walking around in a blue shirt and a
Yeah.
red like overshirt and called it the
Yep.
Smallville dress scheme.
Yep. I thought that too. I go, hey, looks like Clark Kent from Smallville. Like. So I thought that was cool. But you could tell that Yang really does like the character of Superman,
Hmm.
just because all the subtle stuff he's putting in here. The reporter with double L's, the blue collar dad.
But
I'm sure he'll.
even Keenan Kong with a K's like
Yeah. The was it alliteration
yeah.
with that. I mean, I remember when they announced it, his name was Kenji Kong or
Yeah.
something along
Well,
those
admittedly,
lines.
I wish they kept Kenji Kong because I think that's a killer name.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
whatever.
But they changed it, so that's cool. But just so I wonder what his version of Lex Luthor is gonna be.
That'll be interesting. Yeah.
So and I definitely like that. There's definitely room now for a book like this. So I definitely am gonna keep reading.
Yeah, it's its own unique kind of original idea, which most of Rebirth is about. Looking back to
Yep.
the good past and like getting rid of like a lot of the crap they introduced in New 52. But this is like a completely new thing, and it's nice to see it actually be good. So this is a monthly book, so we'll get issue 2 for another month. But I assume that's because they want to keep the same artist on and keep it having that same unique feel.
Yeah,
And whether
and that's good.
this,
I don't need every book to be double shipping
oh no, me
or
neither.
twice a monthly. So it's nice to have a little break like that because, admittedly, the whole action Superman once a week gets a little, for me to try to keep up. Same with Batman Detective, you know, um, and keeping all the storylines straight
Yeah,
sometimes when you're
there's
reading so many comics. So
there is one or two that are single that I wish were double, but not too many of them. I think the singles at least pepper out the week to make them feel a little bit different from week to week, because
yeah,
otherwise it would feel like the same batch of books every 2 weeks,
hmm
whereas we get these singles starting to pepper throughout, and it makes it feel a little bit more like
yeah.
Uh, but yeah, so that's New Superman, and oh yeah, I'm feeling something. The ginger Speed Force is.
We need a sound effect next time if he's not here.
I can put one in. I'll put one in the edit. I'll use the lightning
Oh,
bolt from 121. Like,
there you go.
um, But aye, so new Superman from Connor's perspective here, new suits. It's interesting, but I'm not completely sold. So he sounds a little bit more skeptical than we are. We seem to like him more than him. So he's the negative Nancy in this batch. I like the idea of him being a bit of a dick, but not completely, and the idea of a government program giving him the powers is definitely interesting. Willing to bet they're behind the conspiracy his dad's on about. Yeah, we didn't actually mention that. His dad mentions he's a bit of a conspiracy nut. He's paranoid and thinks the government are up to things.
Well, yeah, and especially in China, like he says that he's about democracy.
Mike. We have technical difficulties, folks. We'll be back in just 1 second.
All right. Yeah, I was Ultroning or Brainiacing there. So
actually, that was the new thing. You were sort of going
So echolocation. I see. Learn a new mutant power there.
Yeah.
But yeah, I thought that his dad going on about democracy being in China, which is such a weird country because they claim to be like communist, but they have Walmart. So like, how's that work?
Everything's the same price. I don't know.
I don't know. To me, something that's so capitalistic like Walmart should be completely antithetical to China.
I feel like the big companies like just adjust how they work things so they can get in China because there's so many fucking people in there that they want to.
Yeah.
They want to sell
of
there.
Course.
They want their stores to be in there and so on. So
yeah, it's a massive market that's virtually untapped for the most part. You know,
what is it? It's like a sixth or whatever of the world's population is in that one country.
Yeah.
So, yeah, of course they want to be in there.
But yeah, so I like that, and again, Lang showing his heritage through
also,
that.
I mean, we didn't actually mention it, but just from a diversity point of view, it is actually really nice to be reading a book that's nothing but non-white people.
Right?
It's kind of nice.
Yeah.
So. No.
But see, unlike other people on the internet, we're not going on and on and making it a darling just because.
Oh no!
You
no,
know?
If this was bad, I'd stop reading it. But it's
yeah,
good.
Exactly.
But it's nice that it happens to be like something that is just a completely different group of people.
Well, and with this type of story, you could set it almost anywhere. Like this could have been, Superman of pick any non-white majority country.
Obviously, with a name like Jean Luen Yang, he's picked China because it's something that he can speak about and knows more about, and he can put in like something that's more culturally relevant to that place. But it could have been had this been like a German writer, he could have said it in Germany. Had it been a Indian writer, he could have said it in India. Whatever.
That's probably a better one. Like if this was Superman of India, it could still have the same vibe and it would still work. So.
So that's New Superman. That'll take us on. We can get into the returning books for the week. We'll start with Wonder Woman issue 2 with Greg Rucka and Nicola Scott. This is the first part of the Year 1 arc, because Wonder Woman, of course, is alternating between two stories, a present-day story and a Year 1 story, both by Rucka, different artists. And this was good.
Yeah.
Really strong. I didn't like it as much as issue 1, and it's not that anything's bad, it's just that it's kind of, alright, well, I've seen versions of this before, and because it's just the first issue, and it ends with, Steve landing on Themyscira, it's good storytelling, but nothing new or really, exciting.
See, I like the subtle stuff that Rucka brought to the origin. That's a little bit new, but also melding all the different versions of it. And I love it kept cutting back and forth between Diana and Steve.
Oh yeah, no, don't get me wrong. The storytelling here is great, and the way it cuts between them is really good because it sets them both up equally as it goes throughout.
Yeah.
And by the time Steve lands on the planet, you feel really bad for him because it introduces to his friend that he's the godfather of his son, and the storytelling is great. Don't get me wrong, this is a good book, and I'm really looking forward to the rest of this Year 1.
Yeah.
It's just not as exciting, I guess, as issue 1 or whatever's going to come next.
Yeah, I like this more than the last issue 1, because for all intents and purposes, it's a different series with the way that Rucka's going about it with a different artist, and so I like the subtleties he brought to her origin and how she questions everything. And just to kind of see compared to the Wonder Woman we saw last time, going to Cheetah for help, it's the same character.
I think I liked the other story more, mostly just because there's more sense of mystery. Like, who's she looking
Yeah.
for? Who is it? Oh shit, it's Cheetah.
Right.
Like, like, oh, what's going to happen next time? Like, whereas with this one, because it is a year one, and because I know the basic, structure of the story. I know what's the bullet points are going to be going throughout. But it's good. No, it's great. We mentioned the flipping between the two stories with Diana and Stephen. I want to talk about on the double page spread that it's flipping between them quite consistently. It's after the whole shooting scene where one of them's shooting an arrow, the other one's shooting the gun and all that. There's a panel of Diana naked coming out of a pool, and some of the other Amazonians say some stuff, and I want to just mention this because it's something that probably was always a thing, but they never really were allowed to write it.
Yeah.
But the other Amazonians mentioned that Diana's been sleeping with different other Amazonians on the island, which I don't think at least I honestly have not read that much Wonder Woman, but I don't recall it ever being
I think they hinted at it, but not didn't come out and say it. I mean, the whole Grant Morrison's Earth One Wonder Woman, that's a whole major aspect of it. Because she has a full-on relationship with another, girl that she's grown up with, and they're kind of partnered up for life in that book. And that's the culture of the Themyscira. There's no men.
Well, yeah, it makes sense. If there's no men and they're still going to fall in love, they're still going to want relationships and all the stuff that comes with that. They're still going to have that need. So it makes sense that they would all be having relationships with each other. But I just think it's interesting. It just kind of like I was sort of reading it. I'm like, oh wait a minute. I don't think I've ever heard that Diana's into ladies. That's just new to me.
Yeah, so I had to go back and reread it because I thought it was Diana talking about another girl.
Oh, right, okay.
And then I was like, oh wait, no, they're talking about her. So, but no, again, that's cool that again, Rucka's adding some things in there that have kind of been there, but not really.
I would really like them to play with this, like in the future. Like I would really like that if she ends up in a female relationship with someone in the present day down the line. And show that she can have feelings for women as well. It's not like something she's just abandoned because she's now, oh look, men, oh dicks are great, I'm never going back. Like, it's not that. It's...
Well, that's why I always felt it so weird with her and Superman. Like, I get why they would be drawn to each other, but I mean, she grew up on this island where there's a whole different concept of a relationship. Like, I can't just see her just settling down just for Superman, and. So hopefully this clears up that type of stuff. That would be cool. I mean, I loved when Simone was writing Secret Six. She had Scandal Savage and Knockout and their whole relationship play out over that run. And that was a lot of fun. And then when tragic stuff happens and you see how it impacts one and the other. So, but I mean, Rucka's Wonder Woman. He's killing it. Nicola Scott's art.
Yeah, that
looks fantastic.
Great, yeah.
The layouts, I love it when they make it easy to read when you have like a double page spread, because sometimes you can't quite tell how to read if there's actually a split or not. So the way that they put the captions, there's like a flow chart to read them.
Yeah,
I really appreciate that.
That's always the smart. That's one of the arts of like just comic book storytelling is like making it really. If you want them to go in a weird order that you wouldn't normally read. You do it with the captions. You shuttle leaders around the page with those. And they're doing quite well with that. Obviously, we get the first tease of the lasso.
That was cool. And the whole her getting bit by the snake in the old tree.
Yeah, the old tree was cool. Yeah, I like that.
But it bit her like on the hand that's missing on the statue, and that's why the lady takes her over there to be like, oh, this is a sign of big things. So I don't know if that was one of the gods choosing her. I don't know if that was a threat, from that something was happening. But, it was a cool thing to play with. Clearly they believe in seers and prophecy. That's cool to see them bring that up.
Yeah. Yeah. And even just the simple idea that when everyone's meant to be looking up at the stars because they're doing astrology or whatever, and she's instead looking out because she's curious about the rest of the world.
Yeah.
And it sets up that part of her character, and that she is going to be naturally curious, so that when Steve does show up at the end and he crash lands, that she is one that might stick up for him, when a lot of the others will presumably be like, oh, we should just kill him and throw him in the water.
Well, and that was the thing that I got from these group of Amazons too, is that they're very peaceful to live away from man's world, but they don't hate man's world. Like there's when I forget her girl that she was talking with, her friend from the astronomy class. But as they're talking about what it meant for them to be Amazons and live on the island and why they left man's world, there wasn't that thing of hate like there's been in previous writers when it comes to it. There's like, it was a problem. We got away from it. We're going to stay over here and left them, And there's a whole line about giving up paradise to go back and join that world, which is, we call it Paradise Island,
Yeah.
Oh, but yeah, very good. That was the top book.
Yeah, it was good.
I think so far since Rebirth, it's one of the ones I've liked the most out of everything.
I thought the Rebirth issue was sketchy, but 1 and 2 have been solid.
Yeah.
Great even.
Yeah.
So, no, Wonder Woman was good. Oh, wait, hon. What's that sound? Oh, it's Connor, coming from the Speed Force. What was it said here? It wasn't anything we haven't seen before, but it was done excellently, mainly thanks to Nicola Scott, who is far my favourite of the new Rebirth artists. Again, there's a word missing there. I read that as he wrote it. Once again, Connor offers nothing to the conversation.
And this is how I know we've already been doing this too long, is when we all kind of line up a little bit. We kind of know each other's, what we're going to say. Well, also, Connor was upset at this book a little bit because it took Black Magic, a book that he was really, really high on from Rucka and Scott, and it's postponed it until they're done with this arc. So to hear that he was, praising of this one means that he's come to terms with it finally.
Hey, I mean, us generally being aligned will just make it all the more fun and shocking when one of us is like, what the fuck are you talking about, you idiot? You're wrong.
Yeah.
This was terrible, or this was great, whatever.
That moment when, one of us likes Redhead and the Outlaws, and we can ban them.
That's not happening. That'll just create the great rift of that'll be the red sky. It'll be the crisis of the comics from the multiverse.
The crisis.
All right, so that's Wonder Woman. That'll take us on to The Flash, issue 2 by Joshua Williamson and Carmine D. Giandomenico.
Just about.
Okay. Just about. I stumbled a little bit. So yeah, Flash issue 2. Good stuff. Flash being a teacher and having to train someone who's just got all these powers suddenly was a lot of fun to read.
I thought it was a little weird because he jumped right into it. He
Yeah.
was like, hey, watch, you can make tornadoes with your hands. Watch, you can vibrate through walls. Like,
well, I got that as him being really excited though, because a lot of the sort of narration from him throughout the book is that, maybe like sending off Wally to be with the Titans was something that he kind of regrets because he doesn't have the partner anymore. Because he doesn't really know New Wally yet that much.
Yeah.
They're not close. So, like, and again, when August says, "Oh, I'm the Flash's partner," he's like, "Oh, that sounds good." Like, it's sort of theme of the book.
Yeah, I definitely like the back half more than the front half because I just felt it was weird and like stilted, and maybe could have been fleshed out a little bit more. But it's nothing to kill the book about. It was just like it felt very Silver Agey, where it's like, oh, you got new powers? Let me show you what we can do.
I don't know. I kind of liked that just because it was so fun and gleeful. He was just excited to do it.
I do like that August knew that Flash was Barry, just like as soon as it all started to piece together. He's like, Barry, I'm a detective.
Yeah,
that's what I do.
Yeah, because he gets powers from his struck by lightning. He's like, wait a minute, you were struck by lightning like several years ago.
Yeah.
Putting 2 and 2 together here.
So, I definitely like that. And also, Wally, since again, we talked about it earlier with Venditti, I had stopped reading Flash before he had gotten powers. So I wasn't sure if he had powers, because we know he becomes Kid Flash. But here it looks like he wasn't in full control, and then he gets struck by lightning at the end. So is that just going to be the Williamson's eraser? There we go. Well, this is where the powers come from officially.
Yeah, I mean, maybe he's going to be like, oh, he has a connection to the Speed Force, but it's not strong enough or something, like
Gotcha.
that. I can see it going sort of down that route. Iris is investigating that team of people who are robbing the armored car last issue.
And they got, again, a Flash staple, weapons that are designed specifically to take out Flash.
Yeah.
So that was a nice touch. And, oh man, what was the doctor's name? Another new. I mean, I don't know if he's a great villain, but it's cool to see new Flash villains pop up.
Yeah.
See, it's such a cool rogues gallery. So.
Yeah, he kidnaps Iris, and of course, Barry speeds off, and August. I mean, I get that Barry can just make a new suit really quickly now because he's done it before, so he just does it at super speed. But I love that August had to, in super speed, like form an outfit.
See, I like to think he ran on the way there through the store, and this is what he grabbed.
He just threw it together.
Goggles, like a welder's shirt.
Yeah, he's got these sort of goggle things. He's put some lightning bolts on his front, but it is mostly just sort of thrown together. Like, put some gloves on, and this is that. And
I like too that Williamson's clearly defining the Speed Force. Like with the frictionless aura. That prevents them, from hurting themselves if they fall and whatnot. So that's cool. So if you're a new reader of Flash, he's explaining what they can do and clearly showing the rules, because I think when Godspeed shows up, it's going to be someone that actively breaks the rules.
Yeah. Yeah, he's setting the ground here, because obviously when we heard the pitch for this first arc, it was, Storm comes to Central City and gives tons of people speed powers, and Barry has to deal with that. And of course, we've not really seen that yet. But then, until the ending, of course, which is the cliffhanger that the storm finally hits after they save Iris.
Yeah.
And really cool moment. Really, it feels really like foreboding. And we see, Wally getting struck by lightning, random other people getting struck by lightning, and just chaos. So it's nice that we're finally getting to that. Of course, the art was great once again. We've been saying that every week, but it's really great. I'm not sure when, I'll just say Carmine, when he's going to take his break. So that, because obviously double shipping it, he can't possibly keep up with this, can he? Like,
who knows how long ago that they started? I mean, because they announced these teams back in March, so they were already working on them then. And it's been 4 months, so.
Yeah. I thought this was better than issue 1. I think it's finding its feet as it goes, getting stronger, so that's good. Speaking of Speed Forces, I can feel just a little bit of a ginger tingle coming in. Connor said, best issue of Flash yet, starting to really enjoy the supporting cast, and Barry as a teacher is great.
There you go.
Yeah, that's a good point, actually. The supporting cast has really come together. We've got August, we've got Iris, got new Wally, this new villain. And even his other CSI lady that's working with him. I can't remember her name, but we're getting a sense of all these characters.
Director saying.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, head of police, and that's one of the things that we said we're missing from New 52. Was a lot of books just didn't really have supporting cast, so it's really nice to see that develop. All right, so that's the Flash. That'll take us on to Action Comics 959, written by Dan Jurgens, art by Tyler Kirkham. That is a different artist from the last 2 issues, which I think was noticeable. But I did like the art. I thought it was strong. Yeah.
Usually I haven't liked what Tyler Kirkham's put out, but this was, I think, the strongest stuff I've seen out of him. And had I known, he was at the con I was just at last month. Had I known, because I don't stay up to date with the previews like you guys do, the solicits. So had I known he was coming, I would have went and talked to him. I mean,
Yeah, even though I do look at the solicits and sort of keep track, like, with artists changing this frequently, and like, I don't remember all the names. Like, I if you'd asked me last week who was replacing the last artist, I wouldn't have been able to tell you.
Yeah, but had I known, because it looked really good. I liked the good majority of it, and even his Doomsday, and that's a character that I hate and I think looks stupid. but here looked fine.
It looked good. So there was some complaints from some people that the first few pages were recapping Death of Superman once again. However, this was from Lois's perspective. It started with Lois narrating, which I thought for me made it worthwhile doing, because it went straight into sort of her trying to protect John from it.
Yep.
So I think for her character's perspective, it actually aided where she was at right now.
Right, because she went through it too. It's not just Clark.
Yeah.
And so you get, him, what he went through fighting Doomsday, and then here you get what she went through watching the person she loves fight Doomsday. And now it's happening all over again. And it didn't spend that much time doing that. We would revisit Lois throughout the issue. But it was still, I think you had said online in the group, it was like a massive action scene. Like this whole arc so far.
Yeah,
basically
since the end of the first issue through to at least the end of this one, presumably the next one as well, to be honest, with the way things are looking.
Yeah.
It's like all action of one giant fight, but there's so much sort of emotion and like past like infused into everything that's going on, and it cutting away to John and Lois really kind of is the heart of what's going on right now.
Yep.
And John being worried and like, insisting that he sees what's going on, and I think what's he say? And he says like, so Dad fought him before, and she's like, he did. Did you see it? Were you there? I was. Like just I like their interplay between them, and how she's talking to him to get through this. Meanwhile, of course, we have this mysterious Clark doppelganger kicking about, talking to Jimmy. Lex get wrecked at the end of the last issue, it seems. So Superman takes the fight to Doomsday, and really, like, he knows he can't fight him like he did before, and this is what makes the fight interesting to me compared to what it would just be if it was just, he's fighting Doomsday again. He's like, right, I did this last time, I can't do that because that killed me, right? So I need to think of other ways. I need to think of this. I need to think of that. And he takes him underground, and we said last time that Doomsday employing new tactics as well is quite interesting. And one thing that really stuck out to me in this one with Superman's narration is that he's like, this isn't their version of Doomsday. This isn't, he's basically saying this isn't the new 52 version of Doomsday. This is my Doomsday. This is the one I fought. How is he here? How can he be here? So that's interesting as well. Like, who put him here? Was this Mr. Oz who put him here to test him? Because Mr. Oz, we think it's Mr. Oz anyway. He's mysteriously watching him.
If so, he has no accountability for human life.
Yeah, apparently,
just chopping that monster in the middle of Metropolis again.
Well, if Mr. Oz is who we think it is, then that makes sense, because...
Yeah, that's his MO. But, but still, I get that character doing that before. Here, it's kind of like, well...
Yeah.
Come on. But no, I do like that, and I like that it is Clark trying to think, to protect everybody in the city and not just have a slug out with them like he did last time. Because that's not... For all the crap that Superman gets for being boring, I love it when there's a thing that he can't punch, And that's like with Doomsday. Yeah, he could, but what good is it going to do? He has to use his other abilities here in critical thinking to get through this.
Yeah, and Lex is a complete dick. He shows up. He's beaten and battered, but he gets like a recharge from the mother box and shows up brand new. Yeah. Cheating bastard. And
that's what he does.
He gets doppelganger Clark out of harm's way because he was in a rough place, and then he's evacuating people on a bus and all sorts. And Clark or Superman basically lets Doomsday have it with his heat vision, and this is when Doomsday does something very interesting. Doomsday does something smart that up until this point we think Doomsday is just this big idiot, is programmed to fight, can't do anything else. But while Superman's blasting his heat vision, Doomsday breaks a gas line next to him because underground at this point, and Superman's heat vision ignites it and causes a giant explosion that would make Zack Snyder proud.
Yeah, but see, unlike Zack Snyder, I felt emotion for this because it wasn't just an empty...
Oh, of course, yeah.
Yeah, so...
Also, he didn't do it intentionally. This is Doomsday using Superman's powers against him, and it's kind of like a big deal. Because we get to that next page, and there's just this giant crater, and Superman's just sort of lying in the middle of it.
Yep.
And everyone just looks shocked. Mr. Oz looks disappointed as well. And Doomsday comes after Doppelganger Clark, and that's how we end for the next issue. And it teases that next issue is going to have Wonder Woman in it, so we'll see how that pans out. Maybe Wonder Woman sees what's going on, comes in to help. But yeah, Superman oofed. But no, I'm having fun with this. I think for all the complaints, and this is never at the top of my list of books when we rank them each week, but I think it's been solid and dependable. I think the art was good this week. I think it's still fun and exciting. And I think the inner monologues of both Clark and Lois as this fight goes through, and them tackling it in a new way from like all the experience they've gained since then. Not only is it interesting just from a, okay, this is how we have to tackle it differently, but it's interesting in it really gives us this idea of all the history and continuity that is possibly missing elsewhere in DC because of the New 52, like erasing things and whatever else, until we get things back, possibly through fixing what Manhattan's been fucking with. So
yeah.
No, I enjoyed it. I like it's the weaker of the two Superman books, but if this is the weak one, then we're in a fucking great place right now.
Well,
so no, action, good. Oh wait, did you hear that?
I hear it.
I hear Speed Force. So Connor says action was fun, still enjoying the Lex Soup stuff. Lois and John was the best part. I would agree. I agree with that, except for the fact that I really like the ending. You know, like, I think that Doomsday using his smarts to cause that explosion is actually really interesting and exciting to me. But I agree up until that point, the Lois and John stuff was the best part. Human Clark remains interesting. Just waiting to see more on it still, though. That's a really bad sentence. Connor, go back to the English class. Not that I think people should be judged for the way they type on Facebook Messenger, but there's a few things I will not allow.
Gotcha.
There and there, you know, the two different versions of...
There, and there.
Yeah, all three, yeah, good point. It tends to be two that they fuck up with, though. The third one tends to be left on its own.
Yeah.
But, whatever.
All you have to do is, if it's they are, just put it in the sentence, and if it doesn't make sense, don't use it. It's not hard.
Yeah.
People.
I'll just
edit yourselves.
Or just remember the right one, like I do. But yeah, let's not go into a tangent of grammar.
Say, if P can do it, you can do it.
Yeah, exactly. So that's Action Comics. Let's move on to the final book of the week, and that is Detective Comics 936 by James Tynion IV and Alvaro Martinez. So artist shift on Detective as well, similar to Action. Makes sense, they're both shifting at the same times.
Yep.
So I'm guessing they're doing 2 issues and swapping around, or is there more than 2 artists? I'm not sure, but yeah.
Whatever they're going to do to keep it on time, keep it up.
Yeah, art was still good though. Again, it was a shift that didn't... because obviously Eddie Barrows, who was doing the art for the last 2 issues, was really good.
Yeah.
But I didn't feel like a dip here. It felt like it was still really good stand-up stuff. And I love this issue.
Yeah.
I'll get right
full
to
of
it.
Full of some nice twists and turns.
Full of twists and turns. Great character stuff for Kate Kane, which is good. But the story in itself, and I know something that must have excited you, Matt, is the line, "They beat Batman." That must have had you cheering.
And this is... Well, not exactly, because I don't know who this threat is. Like, if it's... If it's the I don't want to call them the League of Shadows, then it's different, or the League of Assassins, you know. But yeah, no, that's good though. It shows that Batman's not invincible.
Yeah, it shows that he isn't completely impossible, like to take down. It's essentially an army. So what I would have loved though, just to give him a bit of a badass moment, is just like a line about how many he took down before they managed to sit down. You know, like how many of the soldiers did Batman knock the fuck out before he managed to like tackle him and take him down. But no, that was really cool, and I think that's really interesting from plot stuff. Like, I think it's such a cool plot for this team book. We are setting up this team of Bat family characters. Like, well, what is their big first test? What is the thing that brings them together and makes them a proper team? Someone took out Batman, and they have to save him.
Yep.
They have to stop the
Yep.
villains that took out Batman. That is like perfect.
Yep. And it's a new villain. It's not that that's people. Well, are we gonna burn who it is?
Yeah,
Right
yeah.
now?
Obviously, the twist in the issue is that it's
Yeah.
Kate's father, Jacob Kane, who is heading this army of bat-inspired soldiers.
Yep. So he's corrupting the symbol of the bat, which is always a good trope in Batman comics. And I was gonna say it's someone that they're not familiar with, but Kate very much knows who her dad is.
Oh yeah, and it's funny because last issue, I mean, I really liked the last issue, but one of my slight complaints was there was a scene between her and her father where he talked about how the Waynes were, they're all not filth, but he was like talking about the Waynes and how they'll always be this, they'll never have the values that the Kanes do and all that. And I said at the time, I'm not sure what the point of that scene was, other than just to show the differences. And now I'm like, okay, right, in retrospect, fair play, right, fair play. It set this up quite nicely.
Yeah.
And obviously, we should briefly mention at least that Kate had a nice conversation with Montoya at the start of the
in the beginning
issue.
in Montoya, in great Montoya fashion, she's kind of like, I ain't got time for this. You know what you want to do.
But that, again, it's nice to have that history there.
Yeah.
This book's been paying very, very nice respect to the history of all these characters. So it's just another example of that.
Yeah, and again, I say that as someone that knows the history between Kate and Renee. But even if you didn't, you kind of get their relationship right here. It's done in a page, and when Renee leaves, you know what she's about.
So going back to the scene where they're talking about how Batman get beat, and Kate and Tim are watching it. I really love this scene because they're sort of they're almost they do this thing where they're almost in silhouette as the screen's behind them, and the lighting, lens flares and all that are going off as it, and I like that because it's like they're engulfed by this impossible situation. It's got a really nice artistic touch, and even from a character point, I love that Tim's like, well, this is what Batman would do, and he's like, what should we do? And he's like, well, Batman wouldn't want us to do this. Batman would do it this way. He would, and all that. And then there's this great page where the panels go into the panels of the giant screen they're watching.
Yeah.
As they're having the conversation. And basically, she ends with saying Batman wouldn't want to set off the alarm or do any of this or let anyone know that any of this. He would want to keep it private and controlled. And Tim says, so what do you want to do? And she says, we need to make some calls. She does the exact opposite thing that Batman would do. First of all, this is a really fun page as well. Actually, I love Stephanie waking up from the phone call and saying, spoiler needs sleep.
Yep, spoiler needs sleep. And then even when she walks in, she's giving lip.
Yeah.
She's like, I was just here 5 hours ago.
Yeah, it's great stuff. And then we get a silent page for the silent character of Orphan, Cassandra Cain. Doing our grappling throughout the city in the rain. Fantastic looking page. And she notices the planes and she right, okay, something's up. She puts the mask on, she's gearing up to go. Everyone else gets to the belfry and are informed of the situation. And Kate brings in her father as a consultant. Oh dear, that was a bad idea. And he monologues and reveals what's going on, that he's got this army trained basically. But throughout all this, again, this is giving these characters the respect they deserve. We get a badass scene on the roof of Cassandra Cain taking out some of these soldiers. The team that took down Batman, she's ripping through and giving them a new one.
Because when he asks, because there's a roll call, and he goes, well, where's the mute girl that's a better fighter than Batman? And that's how he knows her.
Yeah.
So, and she does take a bunch of them out. She's not going down, and it takes them blasting her, which I got worried for a minute. Oh man, they're playing for keeps.
Yeah.
And then it just starts, so.
And it's a beautiful page of her fighting them in the rain, really gorgeous, mostly silent, but I love that she's not uttered a single word in all of this book. I mean, it's only been 3 issues, admittedly, but she's not uttered a single word. And then when one of them says surrender, she says one thing. She says, no.
No. Yeah.
and then goes to work. That is so badass.
Yep.
It's so badass.
Yep. This is a throwback, again, to use that term, to the Batman comics I did like to read back at the mid part of the last decade. So, Batman's a flawed character, and his sidekicks and partners are trying to piece it together. And now it's the hunt for Batman.
Yeah. But I'm going to flip this on you and say that Batman's the greatest genius who ever lived, because he put this team together because he knew a threat was getting serious.
Mm-hmm.
So it's almost like this was self-preservation in a weird way. He put trust in the people around him, which is...
Oh, and that's a much different Batman than we got in Snyder's run, who didn't trust anybody, and that's what Death of the Family was all about, and then Endgame and whatnot. So
yeah, I agree. And I mean, obviously we never really suspect that Kate's going to go with her father, but her father's convinced that she's going to come with them. As you said, Orphan gets taken out after being a complete badass. And then they pull a We Are Groot with Clayface, who forms a giant ball, and they open a trap door and they escape, and that's the end of the issue. My God, what a fantastic issue! I was in love with this. It gave so many of the characters great moments, good character stuff for Kate and Tim.
Well, and Tim, Kate's dad, showing Tim that he's not that great, like knocking him down a peg with the computer stuff.
Yeah, because he looks down on all of them. Like, this is like in a weird way, like all the way back to like Elegy, when we first really knew Kate's dad and his like militant way of like running the operation. In a weird way, this has been perfectly set up the entire time that he will one day be a villain. Like, this actually completely makes sense. Like, this
is the best thing I've ever read out of Tynion. And granted, I haven't read that much from him, but like I read his Red Hood and the Outlaws, and I read part of his Talon book. This is more befitting of his talents, I think.
I think he said at the WonderCon event that this is the book that he's been wanting to write for years. Like, this is something he's always had in his head. And it's like, I feel it. I feel the love. I feel the...
Like, as weird as it sounds, because he's one of Snyder's guys, though, that feels very Johnsian in the way that he's setting up, because he's taking stuff from the past and shining a light on it, whether it's Cassandra Cain or Spoiler.
Hopefully this is him coming into his own, and maybe... through experience, but maybe it was also because he's finally getting to play properly with a lot of things, whereas before he was getting given the odd annual of Batman, he would have been given maybe, one of the writers on the weekly series, he was, given Talon, but this is, he got the keys to the kingdom here, basically.
And he proved he can handle it, so...
Yeah, I am so fucking in love with this series right now. This and Superman are, like... battling for just, and it's a great battle to watch because it's just them trying to outdo each other. Like, I'd probably still say Superman's the best book of Rebirth so far, but had this come out the same week as last week's issue of Superman, I would be struggling to pick like what the favourite was.
Yeah, luckily they weren't, so we didn't have to.
Yeah, it's kind of
watch your brain melt.
It's kind of nice, at least for me, that the two best books are alternating between weeks. That's actually a really nice little touch. So I guess with that, oh wait, hon, Speed Force, I can feel it. The Gingers once again honing in from afar. I'll read this just word for word because he's running. Tech, more of the same techie goodness. Yeah, that's what I said. Techie goodness. Artist change didn't hinder it at all. It continues to be a fun team book. The villain reveal makes perfect sense for this book. I like that it gives a personal connection to the team, especially as the best part of the book is its personal relationships anyway. Yeah, pretty much what we were saying, with maybe a bit more emphasis on the personal villain, which is a good point. So, that's the books this week. Man, what a fun episode, because we had such a wide variety of books and lots of news to do. And no Connor, just as the icing on the cake. He will be back next week though, so don't worry, you won't have to go away from your ginger fix for long. By the way, Matt, did you know that in September in the UK there's going to be Ginger Pride Day?
Oh great, they'll all be in one place for you guys, so do what you need to.
Well, that was a fucking dark sentence. Jesus Christ.
No one suspects the Spanish Inquisition.
They're having like a pride march or whatever in London. The whole thing's a bit of a mockery, quite frankly.
I hope so. I hope you guys, unlike here, would become a legit thing and people would be making hashtags about it. I definitely hope that they have a sense of humor about it.
Oh, I'm sure they will, and I'm sure there'll be hashtags, but I'm sure every hashtag will be followed by a joke, pointing out the absurdity of the situation. But yeah,
how are they gonna find a shade structure that much or that big?
What you think? Because regular pride's just the colours of the rainbow almost. They're going to have like just red, orange,
red and white,
little less orange, almost yellow.
And that's okay. I can say this stuff because I'm like a quarter ginger, so you know.
I don't care. I'll make fun. I will pay respect. I will pay respect to every minority on Earth. I believe in complete equality. I say that with a complete, honest and open heart, but I will never give up ginger jokes, right? I'm telling you now. This world would be a much better and happier place if everyone just agreed to make fun of gingers and let everything else go.
Oh, man.
I promise you. And Connor would agree with that.
Would he?
He would.
Okay.
Maybe not, because gingers don't have souls, but...
Yeah.
Alright, ratings or rankings or whatever we do here. Speaking of which, we'll start with Connor's since he's not here, and he did give me his ranking. He put Nightwing at number 1.
Mm-hmm.
He then had Detective Comics, then Wonder Woman, and then Flash, and then Action Comics, and then New Superman, and then of course in the last place, Hal Jordan, the Green Lantern Corps, as you would probably expect. I'll go next.
Okay.
I've got Detective Comics at number 1, and I hate that I've just been swapping between Superman and Detective Comics so far. But you know what? Nothing's dethroned them yet for me, so you know what? Challenges are welcome. After Detective, I'm going to go with Flash. I really like Flash this week. And then I will probably go with Nightwing. And then I'll go with Wonder Woman. And then I'll go with Action. And then I'll go with New Superman, and then in last place, obviously, Hal Jordan and the Green Lantern Corps.
Wow.
And honestly, though, like after like Hal Jordan, though, like New Superman up is all pretty gravy.
Yeah.
Really, you know. So it's even though it sounds like New Superman's quite low because I don't have the same attachment to the characters I do the other ones. That was a really good book. So hit me, Matt.
All right. So my number 1 spot is Wonder Woman. I just loved this issue.
No.
And then Nightwing, another one, and then Detective. All right, so you ready? And then The Flash.
Right.
And then Action.
Right.
New Superman, and Hal Jordan.
Interestingly, our bottom 3 were all the same, but I think this might be the first week where all 3 of us had a different number 1 pick.
Yeah. Yeah.
So and we're getting to that point where we're just going to do like top 3s or 5s and then a bottom place because we're getting too many books, because I think there was 7 this week, next week's 8, and then
That's it.
And then as the weeks go on, we'll be adding a few more each week. But that just leaves one last thing to do, and that's to tell you what is coming next week. So, new books next week, we have Batgirl and the Birds of Prey Rebirth issue 1, which I'm looking forward to. Not as much as Batgirl on its own, but still definitely looking forward to it. The preview came out today and I had a quick glance at it, and it looks good. Also new next week is the Hellblazer issue 1.
Oh, there's the one I missed. I could only find 7, but that's because I keep forgetting Hellblazer.
Yeah. Well, interestingly, that's not a Rebirth issue, unless I've just not written it down properly. But
no, it is. It says Hellblazer Rebirth on my diamond.
Okay. Well, in that case, ignore me then. It's a Rebirth issue. And then, of course, on top of those 2 new ones, we have Aquaman issue 3, Batman issue 3, Green Arrow issue 3, Green Lanterns issue 3, Justice League issue 1, and Superman issue 3. So, it should be a fun time next week.
Yep.
So, yeah, that neatly wraps us up. I think that's good. I think we can end it here. We can move on with our life. If you're on the video version, you'll see that in Connor's box, I've put Mild Fuzz Movies in that box. That's just to let you know that if you're on YouTube, we do have 2 channels. The other channels for all the movie stuff we do. We have the regular movie reviews, and we also have a dedicated horror movie show that I do with our boy Tim Vergulish. But yeah, so that's the start of the plugs. But of course, let us know what you thought of the books in the comments below if you're on YouTube, or you can tweet at us at mailed_fuzz. Email us mailedfuzz@gmail.com. In fact, you could actually send suggestions for what you want us to do, maybe for the next 5th week. At the end of August, there's another 5th week where we've not quite decided yet what we're going to be doing for that episode. So if you have any suggestions or anything you'd want us to talk about or cover, let us know. We might not be able to. It might be something we've not read, or it might be like a phase that we weren't around during or whatever. But no harm in suggesting things. So yeah, do that. That helps it a lot. You can follow us all individually on Twitter. They're all on the screen. But if you're on the audio, I'm at Wibble89. Matt's at MattofSteel57. Connor's at ConnorRyan94. Go and let him know he's awful for skipping out on this just so he can go to a Star Wars thing. And yeah, that's that. What else am I forgetting? Other shows, yeah. Well, I already did all the movie stuff. Almost cancelled TV reviews. We do that all over the time on YouTube and weekly on the podcast services. So check that out. And I think that's everything. Is that everything, Matt? Did I leave it?
Sounds good enough to me.
Cool. The episode's run a little bit long. That's why I sped through that kind of on my own without letting you jump in. So
That's fine by me.
Yes, so that's Comics from the Multiverse, episode 8. Can you believe we're 8 episodes in already? And the excitement has not gone. At least not from me anyway.
Nor from me either.
Who knows what that soulless ginger's thinking. Thanks very much for
watching.
watching.
Right now it's probably about finding Daisy Ridley.
Yeah, probably. He's on the hunt, probably. She should really have a restraining order against him. That's not a lie. Yeah, thanks very much for watching or listening, guys. Let us know what you think, as I said before. We always like to hear. And, yeah, keep reading comics. We'll see you next week. And always remember to never get lost in the Speed Force.
Long live the Legion.